How you doing, guys? Welcome back to the ladder PvP experience, where today I'm bringing you another ladder match. Now, before I get into my opponent here today, let's just quickly go over the build here that I took in. So essentially this is my flagship or my main build, so the Dark Mace and Plow build, and these are my stats here, guys. Now moving over to the equipment page, this is my active inventory, so the Dark Mace with the Dark 4-prong Plow, Ethereal Oak Shield there in the left hand, which is also my only passive HP regen item, Light Crossbow plus 10 with the Exploding Bolts, and also a regular Cestus. Now in terms of armor, it's pretty much the same setup that I have been using for this particular build, with the only change being that I moved to the Black Iron Helm over the Lapse Helm, mainly because the Black Iron Helm has better slash and dark absorption values. Now in terms of rings here, guys, it's the same setup as per usual. Now my opponent here today, guys, goes by the name of VLP, or Very Large Pigeon. He's currently number 3 on the ladder, a very damn good player who mains a Demon Scar Pyromancer. So essentially he's also done the best out of all of us so far against the Great Wizard himself, Robot Rob, in the number 1 spot. And it was a very challenging and tense fight here today, guys, so I really hope that you guys enjoy this one. Check it out. Alrighty, guys, so first round of our match here today against VLP with his Demon Scar Pyro. Now I decide to open with the Plow here. See how much mileage I can get with those far-reaching pokes and running attacks. Now obviously the Demon Scar is a curved sword, so I had to watch here for its speed and roll catching ability, and also that running attack. So it was really here about looking for an opening to attack here. So we both traded there, guys, and now I switch over to the Mace. Now in terms of fighting the curved sword class here with the Mace, guys, it's really about looking for opportunities to bait my opponent into hyper armor trades. Now I do use Perseverance here as a way to get some aggression going. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'd be going in for an attack every single time I use Perseverance, otherwise it'd be way too predictable. But it is a good way to ensure a little bit of aggression, as the Mace is obviously traditionally a more defensive weapon, so it struggles opening essentially with its weak running attack and lack of range. But on top of that, it was about capitalising on mistakes here by VLP, and obviously to force those hyper armor trades or bait them out. Notice how the Mace has pretty poor range, so you really have to be careful when you go for those Perseverance running attacks, as a weapon like a curved sword can punish those whips quite easily, and can also punish your panic roll afterwards if you're not too careful. So you really have to try and gauge when those running attacks are coming, just like there, guys, get into those hyper armor trades with the Mace. So our poise level here is enough to be able to tank that curved sword and its running attack without getting staggered, so that's a 2-hit combo by us. Again, great hyper armor trade there. So it's about trying to anticipate when that curved sword is going to approach, and then baiting a trade. So I switch out to the Plow and Crossbow now. I like to do this to finish my opponents off, but I have to be very careful here, guys. I like how VLP here maintains his aggression. So he's not going all passive or anything like that to make the fight any easier. He is still maintaining that aggression and looking for openings with his curved sword, which is pretty damn good gameplay, you guys. Again, trying to get him with that crossbow and almost got roll caught there. There you have it, great game. Alrighty guys, so round 2 of our match here today, and strap yourselves in because this one is a long one, so this one is going to be a very methodical fight here guys. So again, using that perseverance here to create a little bit of pressure and open with those running attacks. Perseverance obviously will help us not get staggered on approach, but our poise level here is enough to be able to tank that curved sword without using our perseverance when it comes to regular two-handed attacks anyway. So it's only using the running attack that will actually need perseverance. And you'll see here that Pigeon is actually using Fire Surge to his advantage. So going in for that chip damage, so I really have to be on my guard here and be able to dodge roll appropriately when he moves for that Fire Surge chip. So really just studying each other here and looking for a good opening. So really these types of matches here guys is all about capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes and looking for openings in your opponent's method or their game plan to get an attack in there guys. Pigeon again there with that Fire Surge chip. Now a good way to try and avoid that is to be running to the right side if your opponent is locked onto you. I wasn't going to go for that trade there because I knew that Black Flame was a possibility. Don't want to get hit by that combo, guys. So you'll notice how VLP's approach here is a lot more reactive, which is a great way to play here against my particular setup, especially when I'm maining Mace. But again, it could just be that VLP was looking for a good opening against me as well, just looking to capitalize on a mistake on my part. So like I said guys, very methodical gameplay, good stuff. Accidentally jumped there. Mistimed my hyper armor trade there against that running attack and ate that damage, so you really have to pay attention to your timing there guys, so you ensure that your opponent hits you while you're in active frames, and that'll get your 2-hit combo out. But again, that takes practice, and it's not always easy to anticipate when your opponent is actually going to approach. As you can see there, VLP, very quick with those running attacks, was able to kill me twice. there I mistimed that Ashen Estus, but I managed to get hit in with my mace on VLP's retreat there. Now normally, you know, what I try and do is only take an Ashen Estus when I have the distance, that way I can punish my opponent's approach with a hyper armor trade. But again, it's very difficult to get that distance and timing right 100% of the time, so there are times where you're going to make that mistake. I don't know why I went for that attack there. That was a mistake on my part, but I do manage to clip VLP there with the range of the 4-prong plow, which came to my advantage. Now another thing that I'd like to mention as well when it comes to any particular matchup, whether it's ladder or arena or whatever sort of duel that you may have, a good thing is to always remember your mix-ups. So you know, have those secondary and utility weapons at your disposal to constantly mix up your game plan, and obviously throw off your opponent. So for me, I'm switching up between obviously the mace, the plow and crossbow, and as you saw there, VLP swapped out to a dagger just real quick. So completely changed his playstyle here, and now he's going to be taking advantage of that quick step using the dagger. A very tight fight, this one. It's a lot of fun. So yeah guys, mix-ups, just again, I'd like to stress that point. It really helps to keep your opponent guessing, and helps to keep them off guard, I guess, if you're constantly switching up your tactics and your weapons. And now here I've finally started to get some mileage with the plow, taking advantage of its reach and its fast attacks. So again, coming back to that mix-up conversation, guys, you can see VLP here is now switched up to this dagger with the quick step, which has obviously thrown me off a little bit, and he's pretty much changed up his game plan, and now he's forcing me to adapt with my particular weapon setup. So this is the type of stuff that you need to be doing in these sorts of matches, guys. Mixing your tactics up there. Don't rely on just one weapon, but also have some strong utility to throw off your opponent and throw off their game. And as you can see here, VLP managed to get a lot of damage out of that dagger. Again, switching it up to that dagger. Now another thing, you'll notice how I have a quite a big HP advantage at the moment, but when you do get into this situation and you're fighting a player like VLP, it doesn't mean you can get careless, guys, because he will pressure you throughout the entire fight, even when he's got just a little bit of health left. So just because he is at this health level does not mean you can let your guard down, because it's going to be pretty easy for VLP to take advantage of that mistake. Now just quickly, guys, going back to that dagger gameplay, in hindsight looking back at this match, obviously I had a little bit of trouble there, sort of looking for a good counter other than getting my timing right. But what I should have done here was probably use Perseverance actually to offset the quick step. So while VLP approaches with the dagger and goes into quick step for those attacks, having Perseverance active or timing it properly will help me attack him as he attacks me. So it's something that I want to experiment with when I encounter quick step again. When I'm using the mace, is try and time that Perseverance just right to be able to trade with that quick step dagger when the opponent closes in for the attack. So again here VLP switches up to the dagger. So next time I am going to try and Perseverance through that to get my attacks through. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, in saying that, you got to be careful he doesn't pivot behind you and go for a backstab. So I'll have to keep an eye on that as well while I'm using Perseverance. So look at that, guys, just patiently chipping away at my health. Excellent gameplay and a pretty good switch up of game plan and tactics here by VLP. Mixing it up here with some free aim crossbow bolts. So I know I don't do it all of the time, but when you do have those explosive bolts equipped, it's a good thing to actually be aiming at the floor near your opponent as opposed to directly targeting them. Obviously because you get that burst damage when the actual exploding bolt hits the floor, as opposed to you know, when it's locked onto your opponent. It's a lot easier to dodge when it's locked onto them, as opposed to when you try and free aim it in their general direction at their feet. So I think for me here, guys, it was all about just finding the right time here to get in one last trade. Now it's plow v plow. So again, VLP mixing it up, switching up his game plan, keeping me on my toes. Great stuff. And there you have it, guys. GG. Final round of our match here today, guys. Here we go. So again, guys, I think this just comes down to methodical gameplay, looking for openings to attack your opponent, and also capitalizing on their mistakes. So this is coming from me and also from the VLP here with his gameplay. Just got to be careful there with that that opening attack from the mace, because it just has such poor range, guys, that you really need to be careful when you use the mace, that you don't miss and actually get whip punished by your opponent, especially if your opponent has a curved sword, which obviously is going to outrange that mace. It's a lot faster as well, and it also has a much stronger roll catching and running attack. But as you can see there, guys, when you do time it just right, you can force a hyper armor trade against your opponent using this particular weapon, as you will obviously hit them when they're hitting you as that running attack approaches into your active frames, and you'll be able to get out that combo. And there you have it, guys. GG Pigeon, that was a great match. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and stay tuned for more.